All righty. I got 5:30. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda, 2.1.
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we got 3.1, approval of minutes. We got some minutes, open and closed. Everybody should have had a chance to review them.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, I'm gonna take 1 second right quick and say congratulations to the newest doctor in the room. Everybody give Miss Kelly Makepeace congratulations. Congratulations, Kelly. We're all proud of you. All proud of all of our staff, but proud of y'all when y'all make great achievements that you did yesterday. Congratulations. 4.1, we'll move on down the agenda. Budget prep timeline, Dr. Cheeseman, everybody has an attachment.
Sure, just wanted to show the timeline that you see. We're sitting between that February 26th and March 19th, and specifically capital outlay tours Monday. Some of the board was able to go to John Small, P.S. Jones, and Washington High School. Tomorrow, you'll see Chakawinnie Primary, Chakawinnie Middle, Southside High School, and Snowden Elementary School. And so if you're available, we'll start at Chakawinnie Primary tomorrow. And so take a look at your schedule and then go to Chakawinnie Middle School. But we're trying to stay on point. And so Tammy and Christy are working very hard at putting together a draft budget for the board's review on March 19th at your next meeting next week. Any questions about the update? Excellent, thank you.
4.2, MOU, we have a bunch of attachments. This is the early draft MOU between us and the Sheriff's Department.
Early college.
No, early college, sorry.
Early
I got
college.
ahead of myself, sorry. This is the MOU with the early college and enrollment data for the early college. And we had a whole bunch of attachments.
So it's that time of year where the board needs to start looking at the MOUs. The previous MOUs with Beaufort Community College around early college, high school, where we sit now as it expires in June. And so traditionally every 3 years, but I tried to give you the artifacts over the years, so that's what you see in your board docs, dating back to 2012, I believe. So initially they were 1 year and then they moved to 3 years. But I've been asked to bring this so you can have conversations specifically around the MOU in terms of what you'd like to see, so I can talk to Dr. Loop about it. But also in terms of enrollment numbers, where total number of rising freshmen who come out of our 8th grades who enter into early college, high school. I've also asked Principal Paik to be here to be able to answer any questions that you might have. But in short, just wanted to provide you the information that you're seeking around early college, high school and what the MOU would look like. And so Dr. Loop is anticipating conversation to renew a 3-year agreement.
We can either mark it up and send it to Dr. Cheeseman individually, or we can do it as a board and go over it next meeting, however you want to do it.
I think the conversation or the questions really that I've started to field were around the enrollment numbers.
Okay, all right. All right, well, go to enrollment then. You go first.
I'm just curious where we're sitting, what's the plan going forward, et cetera, with enrollment numbers. Yeah.
You're not lit up. Sorry, Terry.
Everybody usually tells me I'm got a big mouth anyway. I was understanding we had about 130. Is that right? How many did we have first apply? I guess 150. Do we know yet how many we will accept this year? Are we too early to figure that out yet, or
82.
we're going to take in 82? Okay.
Plus the 150. Is that?
Let's let
No.
Kelly come up here so we
No,
can hear about
Emily.
it.
Yeah,
And
that's
Emily,
fine.
Emily,
Yeah,
I'm
just-
sorry.
just
I'm looking
Emily.
at Kelly. Sorry, Emily, sorry.
Two doctors side by side now.
So we have 82 students that have already accepted.
Okay.
But every year, we normally have about 5 to 8 students that change their minds during the summer. So that's while we are normally around 75 starting.
Right. And those were the numbers that I had seen in the past, and of course, I've been involved with this for a while. I was looking back, when we first started this, Dr. Cheeseman, it was, we had a 250 cap. And then it was increased in 2015, because that was the one I was part of, at 300. And now it's been increased to 400. And, I mean, I was just curious what everybody else's thoughts were around that. I mean, I have a few feelings about it, but I'm just curious what everybody else thinks. Why, I'm curious why we need to set it out at 400 when we know we're near that in actual enrollment.
So in the most recent MOU that we're currently existing on, unless you correct me, the college extended it to 400. We did not extend our cap on our
On
side.
our side. Okay.
Right, so they could extend it to 1,000, but we still
Right.
wouldn't come over our cap.
Right.
Page 2, final paragraph.
And so
Right.
you could in fact request them to move the cap down if you wanted to, but my understanding is that you cap the school at a certain number.
Well, as long as we have ours, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter then what they
No,
have.
we've tried to always work within that since I've been here.
But I think the main concern that I have is the enrollment itself. Are we looking at continuing to increase the enrollment? I know at one time this wasn't as much of an issue, and I've talked to some of the folks at various schools and high schools, so it's not just my thoughts. But, you know, for the last few years, we've had declining ADMs in our high schools for the most part. But yet, while we haven't had no drastic, because I'm looking at the numbers, they haven't been 75 to 81 to 82 to 75, so in that area. But, I'm not sure that I want to continue seeing that number go up when my 3 traditional high schools are going the other way.
Right.
And especially when you look at it from the standpoint of where they could be at. This year you got 17 kids out of the south side area, the north side, 18 out of south side, 35 out of Washington, and 5 from all other sources. I'm just opening it up for discussion. I'm not gonna make this kind of a statement right now, but I'm just curious, does anybody have any thoughts, or, are we okay if this number were to increase? I just wanna make sure it doesn't increase on my part. My feelings are, I don't want it to increase.
Well, I
But,
get-
am I the only one
Well,
feeling like
we're
this?
not gonna
or-
be able to
Right.
accept any more students than what you see, because
Right.
our teachers are not gonna be able to fit the students in the classrooms.
And finding teachers is not.
So, we're still gonna be in that 70 to 80 range, no matter
Okay.
what, unless there are additional teachers added.
Right.
So you're gonna be in the 264 to 275 range no matter what, total.
No higher than 290.
Yeah, we would probably never get to 300.
Terry, did you have something?
No, I've got the same concerns Terry Williams has, to be quite honest. It's nothing against the school.
Nothing.
But, with the traditional high school numbers slowly decreasing, I have a concern about, upping the quantity that goes to early college, even though I don't have any bad feelings about the early college program at all, so.
And there's not been a request to increase the amount going
No.
there. I think years ago, it was 60 to 65 that were coming, and then I think in 2018, it increased to 80 to 90 as a range, but we've not asked to increase that at all.
Okay. Once again, we're just echoing each other here.
Yeah, I know.
My thoughts are plain. I don't even want to see it at 300. I don't want it to go up any at all unless those are brought to the board for us to know about it before it happens. Because I don't want the number to go up, and I have nothing against early college. Let's make that clear, just like Terry said. Do a fine job, it's a wonderful school. But I don't want to see that number increasing while my 3 traditional schools are going the opposite way. Because I'm quite sure they would be more than happy to have some of those students back in their schools.
Carol?
I think the question that's not being asked is whether or not the board is concerned about the number to the point they want to reduce the cap, or do they want to leave it the same and make sure that Dr. Paik is able to keep it at what it is without going over, regardless of who the students are, as much as you'd like to accept more, be firm in what the cap is. Over the years, we've certainly talked to different principals at the high schools who would love to probably be in your situation and select students from applications, but that's not the case. So their complaint, not talking about any of the current principals, these are years past, and maybe Ms. Booth and Terry have heard it, is they do feel like some of their better students go to early college. Well, that's a double-edged sword. They go to early college because they want what you offer, which is great, and it's working for them, obviously, looking at your numbers and your data. But at the same time, as Terry said, your traditional high school principals are concerned that they're losing some of their better students, and they don't ever get them back. So their data and their scores are going down with the loss of those students. But, so that's my question. Do we just, is our goal here is just to have Dr. Pate keep it where it is and not go over, which is fine, or to say, she's already done what she's gonna do for this year, but do you want to, for next year, saying that that's what I want, I'm saying, what is our real question here? Just that we don't wanna go above 300, or we don't even wanna go above 275?
You've already capped it.
What's
So
our-
it should
what's our
never get
cap
to
on our side?
300.
Yeah, it should never get,
Yeah.
I thought it was 290 when I first arrived. I was told it was
Well,
290.
last year I thought I was told
Maybe
it was
280.
280.
280.
280.
Well, it sounds like the cap situation, unless you were to hire some
It's
additional
not gonna change
instructors.
the number
Wouldn't
of
change
It's
students.
not gonna change.
And you gotta have
right?
more room, right? Not only the teachers, you gotta have more space.
Right.
And is the reason they enlarge the cap is because they have the space?
I think they do have extra space in some of the classrooms, and one of the reasons I believe the cap was increased was also because of NERSBA.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. It did,
so-
because to get the students to come back
That would've
from
been
NERSBA,
2018.
we said, we'll make room for them, but that's no longer an issue, right?
That's
Terry?
correct.
That's gone.
That's been gone.
Yep.
Emily, how many teachers do you have?
9.
9? And what's your average class size, just ballpark average?
Around 25 to 26.
Okay, that's good management.
Is, in the MOU, is the, because I've had questions in years past about the matrix of how students are chosen or are allowed, if I may. Because I have this vision in my head from years past when this first created, long before I was on the board, of the early college. This was a chance for underprivileged kids, their parents had no college graduates in the home. They were gonna be the first graduate. I don't know that I ever got a clear answer that satisfied my thought on that matrix of how students are accepted into early college. And I'd like to sit down, I'd like to see that.
And I would love to show that to you. We follow a rubric, and those things that you just suggested, income level of parents, first generation, all of that is part of the rubric. And I don't want to go into too many details of what the rubric has, but I would love to share that, with the board anytime you want to see it. And I think it is a misconception that we just pick straight A students and those students that score 5s, because if you look at the rubric, and when I do share that with you, you'll see that those students do not score as high of points as 3 and 4s.
I think
There you go.
probably we're at a point, just when you can share that with us, then we can continue the discussion. Until then, power on.
Yeah.
Well, if we have what's in place that I'm being told is in place, and I guess so, at 280, then we'll be covered, and as long as it stays there, I'm fine. If we go beyond and continue to grow, I'm not fine.
Anybody else got any questions? Go ahead, Don.
Dr. Paik, just want to ask you about the waiver. We had some issues with parents not understanding the waiver recently.
What are you referring to?
He's referring to the application that parents who actually signed and they understand the
That-
college
that-
content.
that
And
what
adult
happened-
content.
Sports or
that
They
what
go into
happened-
adult content and no sports.
Yet,
no extracurricular activities.
that what happened in one classroom that kind of got out of hand. I think my concern is just to make sure that parents understand that when you go to a college, it's a little different than, or community college is a little different than high school.
And we do share that with the parents.
Yeah.
And it's also in the general information on the application that the parents sign, that they read it and they
Right.
agreed to the terms and agreement.
That's also part of a required summertime session of registration and orientation that parents must attend with their student,
Right.
of which the
It's freshman
principal
orientation.
and her staff go through that document, paragraph by paragraph, page by page, and give them time to sign or not sign it. But there is an alternative if they don't sign it.
And I believe Dr. Cheeseman mentioned that at the time, and I realized that. It's just, that was a mess. And just make sure that they understand that when they go there, it's different.
Could be a lot of head nodding and a lot of,
I think the parents forget.
Unfortunately, it's different,
yeah,
I would say.
I agree. Any more questions?
You know, I don't think we had as many issues, we don't have issues with the students or the parents. It's the outsiders that are searching for whatever they can criticize sometimes. But what you're doing is working, it's obvious.
Yeah.
You know, there's just as many CCP students at the at the traditional schools that are taking these same classes.
Right.
There's actually more CCP students that are taking college classes than early college high school students.
So Emily, for the board members who are new to CCP, can you explain to them what that is?
So CCP stands for Career and College Promise, and when students start their junior year, they have a certain GPA.
Right.
They're eligible to take college classes.
Right, right. And I was going to add that we have a young man in our youth group at our church, and I think he's been going a little over a year, and he just loves it. He loves it there. So thank you for what you do there.
And once again, those students are not taking necessarily mandatory courses. These are courses they're choosing to go out there and take, while their home high school still offers what's mandatory for graduation.
Correct.
So when they're signing up for these elective courses, and you're right, Washington High School, I'm sure Mr. Lister he has a lot of students that go out there for different courses that don't even show up at the high school till the middle of the day because they've been at the community college. So I didn't know how many. I didn't realize it was almost more than what you
There's
have.
469 in CCP this year,
Oh, wow.
It's a
and
wonderful
406 in the early
and it's
college.
For parents of Beaufort County, when your kid can come
Man,
out
that's
with
great.
X number of college credits and even a 2-year degree, look at the savings for the residents of Beaufort County, for parents. They have put kids through 4-year education.
This is not a question for you, Emily, but maybe for Dr. Cheeseman. Do they have to, when they sign up, and I should know because both of my children went out there and took a lot of courses when they were in high school, but are they given the same type of form? Because my understanding is that a student from one of the traditional high schools that didn't like the content of a course claimed to not know, that the content would be that. Are they given a similar information session
They
like
should
you
be.
give your students?
They definitely should be. I don't know otherwise that they haven't,
Yeah.
but yes,
That's
they
normally
should
carried
be.
out by the college liaisons that serve the high schools from the
Yeah,
community
I'm
college.
sure I signed papers, I just, it was a long time ago, but I was just curious, because if it's not happening, and like I said, that not part of your system, if it's not happening, it should, so that there aren't surprises
Right.
to the parents.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Peck. Thank you for a great job.
Thank you.
Keep it up. 4.3, now we'll get to the sheriff and county schools MOU. We have 2 attachments. One of them we gave Dr. Cheeseman some direction on last time, all right?
All right, so what, you have 2 attachments. One is the more recent SRO MOU that you had from 2018 to 2021. The other is the proposed SRO MOU that Sheriff Hammonds has given us to enter into dialogue. And that dialogue is this Thursday at my office with the sheriff's office to specifically talk about what's in the MOU and also more specifically what direction they would like to go. So this document's not final, and I'd like to walk you through some understanding of what the sheriff has initiated in the conversation, and none of that is final, and I'm not asking for any kind of vote tonight. I am asking for your guidance and direction as to how you'd like me to lead the conversation on Thursday. So if you open up the MOU from the sheriff's office and look at the first page, and I know that it kind of scrolls down for you.
This is the second one,
So I
Which
don't.
one
or
is
the
it?
first one?
It's the one that says, is made this day of April 2024 by the sheriff's office.
Both of ours say July 1st, 2018.
Is it the first one or second one?
They
Both of
both
ours say
say
July.
effective July 1st,
2018.
That one. This one should be there.
Still shows the term being beginning July 1, 2018.
So
Right.
both of those
Both of
documents?
them.
Yeah.
Both of them say that.
Can we pause and go back to that until we can upload the other?
Yeah, we're good.
If there's a mistake made.
Yep, that's easy. I'll keep moving forward. 4.4, policy 9300, we do have an attachment. This is on naming facilities, and this is on here. Let me take it for a minute. You got it?
All right, so policy 9300, as we work on the other to upload it, policy 9300 naming facilities, why this is coming to you is that you were awarded a $42 million grant, and you're constructing a new school. And ultimately, you're going to have to attach a name to that. And for the purpose of the application, it was named Washington Elementary School, mostly so those who were weighing in on the application really knew where it was. But policy 9300, and for you to understand and for the community to understand, is that the board considers naming facilities to be significant, and it often reflects on that name in terms of student, staff, school system, and community. And the authority to name and rename schools and other school facilities rests solely with the Board of Education, not any other entity, not your county commissioners, not anyone else. It's you as the 9 board members have to make a decision. But the way your policy reads is that the superintendent will consider requests from school and community groups and individuals, and then the superintendent will bring you a recommendation. Whether it's me in the position or someone else, that's what it would be. And further down, it says the superintendent shall submit a recommended name or a limited list of recommended names to the board for approval. So I'm bringing this to you just to start, massaging your minds a little bit. And also, so people understand that when you're looking at naming, it specifically says in policy 9300 that extraordinary long-term service to the school system as a staff member, coach, Board of Education member, volunteer, has to have a minimum of 20 years of service. So it, just can't be one of us suddenly. Also, individuals so honored due to significant financial contribution or the donation of personal property must have positively impacted a school with a contribution or donation which has a useful life expectancy of more than 10 years and a significant financial value. Well, in short, this money came from North Carolina Lottery. It's not a donor. You're not naming it North Carolina Elementary School, right? Maybe you do. But in short, this is just some guidance for you. So what we're going to put into place is essentially a community survey, and we'll bring that knowledge to you next Tuesday. And people can start weighing in with some ideas as to what they would like to name it. And then I'd say over 30, 45 days, let that survey collect some of those names, and we'll look at that. And then I'll bring a short list to you, probably less than 5, of names for you to start discussing. You're not in a hurry. You're not in a hurry. But in short, the sooner you do it, the greater opportunity you have for marketing and advertising. And of course, your builders can start ordering the letters of the school and other great things, all right? So I'm hoping that we can try to get this done by mid-time summer.
Don?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Dr. Cheeseman, is it my understanding that the board cannot nominate someone or a name? The board cannot. It's my understanding that the board cannot.
Yeah, it says you cannot, as a board member, make those nominations. You can only decide the actual recommended name or limited list of recommended names.
That's why we involve the community, so
Right.
maybe we won't be burned at the stake. All right. Are we good? Keep moving.
No, you're good.
All right, new school update,
Back to you.
4.5. You got, let's click on the first one, new school schedule.
Yeah, I got it. So we met with Jimmy Height, Height Associates, 2 Thursdays ago, and Mr. Height has put a tentative schedule together. And you should see a graph, horizontal bar graph, so people in the community know what we're looking at. And that essentially sketches out the hard timeline of what he's really trying to commit to. And so you'll notice February and March, when you're looking at the specific scheme, it's a generalized drawing of what the building would look like, which is in your next attachment. But in short, you'll see that the goal is truly to have the building ready by the summer of 2026. And you'll notice also that an aggressive approach could actually have a contractor in place by the end of the year, usually sometime between October towards the end of the year. So with that, Mr. Height has already made some action, and you may see that depending on what else you open up. And in short, in the next one you should open is the actual scheme. And so it's just a 30,000-foot view of what the property would look like and what the building might look like. And this is just a general design that is still changeable. Shows you where the roads might be in terms of driveways and parking spaces and playgrounds and walkways and whatever it might be. I got you. And so, in short, that's the scheme that he's currently rough drafting and working through, of which on March 5th, your teachers at JCT and Eastern were invited to come, your administrators were invited to come, other people were invited to come to meet with Jimmy Height, just to give initial input. Mr. Shreve?
Oh, I was just, I wondered what that circular thing was in the middle. On the,
Yeah, it's a playground.
is
Yeah.
that what, okay,
If it's in the middle,
Yeah.
opposite of the buildings, yeah, it's a playground.
okay.
All right, so it's open land space, so you'll be able to designate it as a playground. All right, so along that is, this is the initial scheme he's working on. Why it may change is if you look at the next document and you open it, Height Associates has already started working with land surveyors, a local land surveyor to do the work, and he has also contracted someone to do the traffic study. And that's the document that you have in front of you, to really understand the volume of traffic, the flow of traffic, the projected flow of traffic of what it would look like in 2 years, 2.5 years from now. And so, in short, he has started the small pieces that no one sees, but you have actually already started building a new school. All right, so behind Eastern, you should see flags starting to come to the earth, and you should actually already see people out, near the street, not in the street. But you'll get reports back during that time. Also, during that meeting, we've agreed with Mr. Height that once a month, that we would collectively meet together as chair and vice chair of the Board of Ed, chair and vice chair of the county commissioners, county manager, superintendent, finance team. Open session with note-taking, no decision-making, no action items, and to really create a living wall mural over there of all the artifacts and the work. So we did have the $42 million check professionally framed, which will ultimately go into the school. Thank you to Kristen Riddle and Lisa Duke. And so in short, that meeting will be the second Tuesday of each month, so in April and May. So Tuesday, April 11th, I believe it is. Thursday, the second Thursday of each month.
12 o'clock noon.
Thursday at 12 o'clock noon. So the second Thursday in April and then the second Thursday in May. So if you're available and you want to come watch, you're welcome to do so. It's an open meeting. And it's really just to share progress from Jimmy Height and the potential builder. And then that information is then shared back to the Board of Education and shared back to the county commissioners in order for transparency and updates. Chairman Allen, if you want to speak to that.
When Chairman Waters and I discussed it, after we got the $42 million grant between the county commissioners and the school board, when other schools were built and everything, you heard nobody was ever in the know, and this team didn't talk to this one. So we came up with a Thursday of every month, 12 noon, first Thursday, or whatever that is, second Thursday. We can sit down with Jimmy Height, potentially, then when the new builder gets here, they'll have a representative here. One, keeps us on schedule. Two, keeps us on budget. No, I should say one, keeps us in budget. Two, keeps us in schedule. We get updates. We can ask questions. We can make sure everybody's in the know. There's nothing hidden behind closed doors. And they're gonna build a progress wall over here so everybody coming in can see what's going on. There's nothing behind closed doors. We know what's happening. So I don't know if y'all like that idea or not. We both liked it. And both county manager and the superintendent can be in there. The finance people can be in there. So if there's any questions, we can get them out and get them answered right then and there, and it's over. So, go ahead.
And just to add to the transparency, so it's clear to everybody that those that are part of the meeting are not going to be making decisions for the board.
There is
So
no decisions. It is
they're
a
not-
fact-finding
Right.
questions
That's why I said
and
just
answers.
To add to the transparency, to be clear, they know that.
There is no
Like, you're not
decision
making
making.
decisions, right.
No. It's, Jimmy Height, did this happen? Did this happen to X builder? Did this happen? Are we in budget? Or this is coming? Or is the money dropped? Are we paying everybody on time? This, that, and the other. Make sure you hit your button.
I was in the meeting in Greenville, I'm just gonna reiterate what 2 to 3 people have already said. So yes, we will be having a meeting, no decisions, but anybody can come to this meeting, sit right out there and listen. So if there's anybody that 6 months or a year from now says they don't know what's going on with the new school, or that the school board was making backroom deals, then you know what? They just didn't take time to come, because the meeting is gonna be advertised, the door will be unlocked, and anybody can come. So when this school opens up, there's no reason for everybody in the county to not be able to say, I know exactly how they built that school and why, because everything's gonna be done. I don't know how we can make it more open than that. If you wanna come, be interested, show up. It'll
Don?
be here.
Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna ask, who did you say were gonna be asking the questions?
We decided between chair, vice chair, superintendent will be in the room, county manager and their chair, vice chair, and finances from both entities.
If anyone had a question, could you submit it?
Yeah, just send it to me, or send it to Terry, or send it to Dr.
Right.
Cheeseman, one of the three of us.
But there has
We
to be
got it.
some order.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be meeting with multiple contractors, and things, and so there has to be some order to the meeting, or we never get anything done. But
So, yes,
anybody
everybody
can
has
come.
a-
But
yeah.
anybody can come.
That's right.
Okay.
When did the meeting start?
April the 11th, isn't that what it
At
is?
noon.
Yeah, and it could be, and the first ones may be very short and informative, and then they may get a little longer, they may get a little shorter, they may get a little longer or shorter, but, there's no time frame. We're just gonna roll with it and, kinda see how it goes, and, if we don't have a whole lot, we may just keep right on rolling, so, all right?
April 11th and May 9th.
And this will be advertised, did you say?
Yes, it's an open meeting,
It's an
so it
open
has to
meeting,
be
yeah.
advertised.
No,
Open
I
meeting.
mean advertised where?
It's open meetings law, so it's publicized in the public, it'll be
Yeah.
on our
Okay.
website, it's on our door.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in that email that Lisa Duke sends out every month, if you look
Okay.
at how many people get attached to it, there's a bunch.
Yep.
Are you ready for a handout?
So instead of us putting it down for the second Thursday of every month,
Just April and May for now.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say, we're gonna be limited on how far out the
yeah,
schedule.
for right now.
Is it in here?
Yes, it's
In
here.
this room.
Thank you.
And May the 9th.
Right here.
You good?
You want the minute?
That's when I-
All right, we're going to 4.6, K-12 Director Amanda Atwell and her team. We're going to everybody got a handout book from Dr. Parker, and this is what we're going to walk through. Gary, this is the check-ins. Some of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not doing all these pages.
It's
Yeah, we're not gonna go through this whole
Not
book.
that I don't think there's more, but there's a lot of them.
No.
It's gonna be more of a sprint,
Yep.
and you can look at it.
You got the floor, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. Leslie Holly, Instructional Support, and Denise Owens, Early Literacy Specialists, are joining me tonight. Leslie will be reviewing K-8 math with you. Denise will be reviewing K-8 literacy, and I will be going over check-in data as well as explaining assessments. We're not clicking. Okay. We have 3 types of assessments that we use throughout the county. They are typically EOGs and EOCs, universal screeners, and formative assessments. EOGs and EOCs are used to measure growth and proficiency. Universal screeners are given 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year, and they help us determine who may be at risk in reading and math in grades K through 8. Our formative assessments are used to drive daily classroom instruction, and those include North Carolina check-ins, our district benchmarks, and our classroom assessments. Data is used and analyzed throughout the district on many different levels: district level, school level, grade or subject area, as well as classroom. It is always used to drive instruction, and in addition, it is also used to determine curriculum and support needs throughout the county, as well as to determine professional learning needs.
So I'm going to share with you information about the screeners that we use for literacy in Beaufort County Schools. So we use DIBELS 8 through M-Class for grades K through 3, and those students considered transitional, which are 3-4 students. And then we use iReady Reading for students who are in grades 4 through 8. So I'm going to talk about M-Class first. So this is a correlation chart which shows where our students came in at the beginning of the year. We had a total of 1,558 students who were assessed in DIBELS 8. And you will see that we had 474 students who came in below 335 students. I'm sorry, well below 474, 335 below, 480 were meeting grade level requirements, and we actually had 269 students who were above grade level at the beginning of the year. And the bottom numbers show where they moved towards the end of the year. So you can see that we had students who might not have been making benchmark expectations at the beginning of the year, but by middle of the year, they had already moved to grade level and above grade level. With regards to what's assessed for both measures, we measure foundational skills as well as comprehension skills, which are aligned to the science of reading. This particular document is telling you the domains that are measured in iReady, which are very similar to DIBELS for K3. So we're looking at phonological awareness, we're looking at phonics, we're looking at their ability to read high-frequency words in both measures. These are the foundational skills. And then we move into looking at vocabulary and comprehension, and in iReady it breaks the comprehension into 2 components, that for literature as well as our informational text. So when you're looking at this data, this is kind of your reference point for what they're measuring. So if you look at overall iReady in the district, the top bar tells you where they were middle of the year, which is our most recent diagnostic. Our green and our striated green line indicates the students who are meeting or exceeding expectations, whereas the red are showing those that are well below, and the yellow in the middle are showing below or slightly below average.
this breaks it down by domain that was talked about in the earlier page of each segment. So if you look at each component, you will see the graphs for each of the domains measured in iReady. And I can tell you the percentages for those. For
You're on page
phonological-
15.
For phonological awareness, it's 97%. For phonics, it was 83%, meeting expectations. For our high-frequency words, 94% meeting expectations. Vocabulary, 36%. Comprehension, 38% overall. And then it was broken into literature and informational text. And then-
Okay, so now we'll take a look at the iReady scores for kindergarten through 8th grade for math. And so these, of course, are the domains that are assessed by iReady, numbers and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. And all of our standards fall under those, each of those 4 domains.
Pause for a second, please.
Yes, sir.
You should be at page 31.
Thank you.
Ms. Owens, is your document page numbered?
It is.
Can you please cite the page number so the board can follow you when you jump ahead? Thank you.
Okay, and so here we can see, on this slide that the overall placement, so if we put all the kindergarten through 8th grade together, and we look at the BOY, and again, the colors and the graphs are just like they were when you looked at the reading slides just now with Denise. And so those are the averages for the overall placement for kindergarten through 8th grade for math as we compare the BOY, beginning of year, to the MOY, middle of year. And then if we do the same thing, but by domain, is that the next slide, Denise? Okay. And if we do the same thing by domain, again, we're looking at kindergarten through 8th grade, and we put that all together, and this shows you how the scores came out for each one of the domains, the 4 domains that we talked about that are assessed for mathematics. Here we've broken it down by grade, kindergarten through 5th grade, and you can see each grade there individually. You've got a bar for beginning of year and a bar for middle of year, so those can be compared, and you can take a look at the growth. And again, the colors mean the same. And the percentages that you see there on the side are the percentages for the colors. So the green and the yellow and the red, the percentages correspond with that. So you can see what percent of that grade scored clear.
And you said the striated is 2 grade levels below?
No,
No.
the green striated, or do you mean the red? The
The
green
red.
striated is mid or above,
The red striated means
3 or more behind.
3 or more grade levels behind? Okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay, and then this does the same thing for 6th through 8th grade. It's the last slide. The last slide was K5, and this is the same information for 6th grade through 8th grade, with the colors, of course, meaning the same and comparing the BOI with the MOI.
So if you move to page 58 in your book, we will look at NC check-in data. NC check-ins are assessments that are pushed out by DPI. They are used to provide feedback to teachers on where students are in regard to mastering content standards. These graphs that you will be looking at indicate the average percent correct at the district level. Since these assessments are pushed out by DPI, it is important to remember that some content standards may not be covered when check-ins are given. So when teachers are analyzing data, they know that ahead of time, but they're using this to drive their instruction, to reteach, remediate, etc. There are 3 to 5 standards typically covered on each check-in, and the questions typically come from the EOG test bank.
Ms. Atwell,
Yes.
the check-ins are not a part of the academic standing of a student in terms of the actual grade, correct?
That is correct. They are only used to drive instruction and for teachers to understand which content standards need to be taught or retaught. Okay, so starting with the next page, what you will see is district data followed by individual school data. Because we have given principals autonomy in regard to pacing, some schools may not have taken all of these check-ins. They take them in different order based on the pacing at their school, so you may not see data from each school. But each slide, you'll see district data, followed by the individual school data of the schools that have taken that particular assessment. Feel free to stop me along the way. The first one you see is reading for grades 3 through 5. Next, you will see math, grades 3 through 5 for check-in 1. Reading, grades 6-8, check-in 1. And math, grades 6-8, check-in 1.
So you should be on page 63 now, correct? Of your document?
Math, page
65.
65, check-in 1.
65.
Yeah, I'm on
Yes.
65. Okay.
Okay, this year-long course for NC Math 1 found on page 67. This includes our middle school data for students that are taking Math 1 at the middle school level. This is check-in 1. Page 70, check-in 2 for reading, grades 3-5. Followed by 72, check-in number 2 for math, grades 3-5. Page 74, check-in 2 for reading, grades 6-8. 76, check-in 2 for math, grades 6-8. Page 78, you have check-in 1 for life science, grade 5, and you will see the different domains there. Page 80, check-in 2 for earth science, grade 5. Page 82, check-in 1 life science, grade 8. Page 84, check-in 2 earth science, grade 8. And then on pages 86 and 87, you will see the check-ins that have not yet been administered.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Back, a few pages back, when you mentioned NC check, when you first got into NC check-ins?
Yes, sir.
And you said since they were pushed out by DPI, they were how did you say that? They were searching for instruction?
So these are assessments that are pushed out by DPI.
Right, okay.
DPI sets the standards
Right.
that are placed on each check-in.
Right.
DPI does not publish a document for pacing. Pacing is
Right.
left up to individual counties.
So that's why it doesn't match up.
Correct. And then within the county, we also give principals autonomy to decide on their pacing. So principals, teachers know ahead of time when they're administering, they know the standards that will be covered. However, they may know we haven't taught this standard yet.
Right.
And so when they analyze that data, they just know that going into that. It doesn't necessarily mean that, so sometimes the percent is not, it's not necessarily reflective of how the students are doing, because you may have an entire standard or even 2 on a check-in that the students have not been taught the information yet.
Exactly, and I actually knew that.
Right.
And I just was trying to make sure that's what you were saying. So that's why when I have a conversation with a student, which I do, and they say, well, this is what I made, or this is how I came in, but they gave me a test on things I haven't even covered yet. They're actually, I guess, for a better term, telling me the truth.
Correct.
So I know that's not your decision.
Yes.
What's the point of this?
The point of this is for teachers to understand where their students are in regard to the content standards that they have taught. So if they know,
But does it decipher it out so that they can look at it and tell
They can.
what I
They can
have taught,
see-
what I haven't taught?
yes, they can see, well, they know it is, all of the questions, there are standards indicated on each question. So when they look at the data, they can see how the students performed on the standards that they did teach. They sit the ones they did not teach to the side, knowing that I still need to teach that. The ones they have taught, they're able to look at that and see where confusion lies, use it for reteaching. Do I need to go back and teach my entire class this standard? Do I need to remediate a small group of students on this standard, et cetera?
And as I said, I know it's not your decision.
Yeah.
It's not my decision.
Right.
But you do know there's a much better way to do it than this.
Yeah, in a perfect world,
But I mean, I know
they-
you can't do
yeah,
anything about that.
Yeah, In a perfect world, DPI would set the pacing for,
Said it would match
for the
up.
state, and we would follow that,
Right.
but they do not provide those documents.
And we don't want them to do that.
Right. Well,
So this
yeah,
is what we end up getting.
right.
Okay, I just
It
wanted
is
to make
very-
sure that's the way I understood it, but I just wanted to make sure that's what you were saying.
Yes.
Because you're kind of the first one that's actually verified with me that what I was hearing was true. And
Yes.
I
It
just-
is-
I just think it's a terrible way to go about doing it, so.
It is very helpful information for the teachers
Okay,
when they are able to look at those content standards that they've taught and know, have my students mastered this, or do I need to reteach?
And this virtually piggybacks what you just said. You know, I didn't see any of this until just now, when you were going over it. But it appears, the bird's eye view is that we're riding the struggle bus when it comes to geometry. Because those seem to be, when you go, and I'll go back and study it more tonight, but it appeared when I looked at the geometry scores compared to, or the data, compared to some of the other maths being taught, that geometry, everybody's up here and geometry was always down there. Does that matriculate from you and this data to principals and their staff? Or how do they take this then and realize that we're not scoring where we want to in geometry?
Well, teachers and principals are able to see their own data for their own school, so before we ever compile all of this, they have done that at the school level. And they do that and look at each standard. So they know exactly where they're at and exactly where they need to go.
Are we teaching geometry now starting in the 9th grade or 10th grade?
Thank you.
I think it depends on which school.
Depends on the advancement of the student as well.
Okay.
Right,
But I
so-
didn't know if it was even offered at the middle school level.
Typically, your Math 1 is the exception at the middle school level, so that would not include geometry.
I didn't think so. Okay, so it's a high school course for the most part.
Yes, ma'am. It is important to also remember that the number you're seeing is not percent proficient. It is the number of questions that were answered correctly. And the check-ins, the number of questions on each check-in vary by subject area and grade level. So you may have one check-in that only has 15 questions. You may see that your percent is lower, you know, if you compare that to another one that had 25 questions. So,
It's real easy to be very confused.
Don's got a question.
Yeah, ladies, you went over this so quick. As we take these home and look at these a little more closely, can we call, or can we come in and meet with you to go over some, maybe have some questions ready for you and just get our questions answered, and maybe you show us how something works?
Absolutely.
yes,
Thank you.
Just
we will be
get-
happy
just
to do that.
Set something up with Dr. Parker and he can hook you right up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Not only geometry or something, but I've noticed, before I even looked at some of this data, I'm curious why we have certain grades that don't perform as well as others. Because, and you know, we've discussed that before. I want to throw out 7th grade, but I'm not going to pick on a grade tonight. But typically,
Say 5th, so. I
yeah,
don't
it
know.
could be 5th, but we have certain grades that don't do as well. I mean, is there a thought behind, I mean, I don't really know how you even determine that.
Is the content more challenging?
Well, content obviously varies from grade level to grade level, and not to blame everything on COVID, but it is very important to remember that we are still recovering from that and have students, especially in those foundational years, that did not receive the number of hours of instruction in person
Yeah.
that other grade levels did.
Well, some of these numbers show a lot of improvement.
Yes,
I mean,
There is a
there's
lot
a
of
good
growth.
story here to tell.
yes.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, that's a real good story
Very
here to tell.
impressive.
To answer your question, the state of North Carolina is looking at grade 4 and grade 7 from last year's data.
Yeah.
As they found specific changes, where I think it was grade 7
It was.
really very much struggled across the board, across the state in all areas. But for people to be reminded, Beaufort County Schools was acknowledged by the State Board of Education back in October for last year's results of ELA grades 3 through 8, all increasing across the board. And so you are seeing a good story here.
There is.
Now, I do need to make one declaration for the board, is I will hand you the high school mid-year data. As you know, I cannot share that in public right now because the State Board of Education has not actually validated it because your fall semesters are combined with your spring semesters. And then the State Board of Education does not review all that information until your Testing and Accountability Department hands it to them. And so they actually validate all the results in September. And so because this is a public meeting, I can't discuss those results in a public meeting, but I can share that information with you, and I do have it for you. But the way the laws and the policies are constructed, you can't share that with anyone else. All right, but you can always have conversations with your principals and teachers and families and parents. But from there, I'll just leave it. All right, thank you.
There's a lot of examples here. You can see the trend moving from well below grade level towards above grade level.
Yeah.
Or at least put it on grade level.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction.
That is correct.
Thank
That's
you.
what we
Thank
want to
you.
see.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank-
so
All you
much.
did.
Thank you
so
for
much.
these too.
Yep, this is
Yeah.
it's a lot of data here, isn't it,
Yeah,
Don?
thank you.
Hey, but we
Yeah.
got through it quickly.
She was rolling.
We're ready to roll back up to 4.3. Everybody got a handout, and
Yes.
this is the one we're gonna start on, right?
That's the one we're gonna talk about. So, let me thank Cindy Apple, Mark Doan, and others who ran and made you copies for this. My error for not putting this one up, and I'll own that. All right, so what you have in front of you is the copy from Sheriff Hammonds and his office as to what his suggestions are for an MOU. And I would like to just walk you through some highlights that I made. So you can see some concerns I have that I hope that you can collectively have conversation. And then on Thursday, I'm meeting with the sheriff's office to just kind of walk through and massage this. And if you recall, Sheriff Hammonds did agree with the county commissioners that he would have an MOU in place essentially by April 1st. So that is our timeline. So my goal is to try to bring you back a document on March 19th. All right, so if you look at page 1 of your document, and at the very top, just to make sure I'm on the same page, that first line says, you know, that this school resource officer memorandum, April 2024. We all have the same document, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if you move down, and I won't read it all, you can read it, but if you move down to Roman numeral 2, renewal of the term. And this is actually a new line item that has been added from your pre-existing. And you can make comparisons to what you have on board docs with the old one. The first thing I'd like you to highlight is just an area of concern for your consideration, where it says, said notice shall be dated and provided to the other party no later than 180 days prior to the end of term. And essentially what this is saying is, if you're choosing not to renew it, you have to let the sheriff's office know 6 months in advance. Whereas your previous agreement was 90 days written notice. So I'm just pointing that out to you.
Who put that in there, us or him?
This is his.
This is his.
This is his.
This is all his.
All
Okay.
100%
Okay,
in draft format.
all right.
All right, so that's just the first thing that caught my attention to bring to you.
That's double.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not saying it's bad or good, I
It's
need to
different.
highlight the changes that I recognized. And there may be some that I didn't, but all of you are pretty strong readers. Location of services, they actually outline specifically where they would go, and that's inconsistent with yours, or that is very consistent with yours in previous years. But on the second page,
Before you go to the second page,
yeah,
is there only one SRO for Southside High?
yes.
Ed Tech?
Yes, that is the current, that's the way it's currently structured, is there is one,
Over there.
there's one police officer in the building of Southside High School, even though there's 2 programs. Yes. And that's the way it is now. All right, so on page 2, or the second page, Roman numeral 4, this is a compensation piece that has been added. And I wanted to bring that to your attention. And as Mr. Doan and I are aware, we do receive safety grants that are specifically for SROs. You cannot use them for anything else, not locks on the door, not magic wands, nothing of that for security, only SROs. But why I bring this to your attention is what is the line item that you would put there if in the future you did not qualify for that safety grant? Meaning, what is the funding that you would use if you did not qualify? And part of this might be from the county commissioner's perspective, county manager's perspective, to the sheriff in terms of how they're going to fund it. And for your knowledge, this year, $396,000 roughly is the safety grant of the contribution that we put towards the $608,000 that we used towards SROs. So you have actually been paying well more for SROs than any other entity. And I say it politely, not the county, you have been paying that through your grant. And that grant just hits it and goes right to the commissioners, and notice your finance team is shaking their head, yes, I am telling you the truth. All right, so if you look at Roman numeral 5, it goes back to Roman numeral 4 a bit, that, and this is new. So in the event either party proposes an increase in the compensation or number of schools to be served, that you would have to let them know about that before March 1st. So my concern about that is that's the beginning of your budget season, probably almost a quarter of the way through. So you don't know what your local budget would be until the county commissioners conclude their budget meeting. So you really would not know a definite number until usually the first week of June. So my concern for you is that March 1st time, as to why that sits there. So do you want it earlier? Do you want it later? Does it matter to you? But that's another consideration to wrap your mind around. Any questions about Roman numeral 4 or 5?
Number 4, I think, if the way I read it is if we don't get the grant, then they don't get any money.
Which
They don't
concerns
get
me.
any additional monies.
And so and I agree with you, but my concern to protect you as the board and our constituents is what other line item, and you could have your attorney look at this, what other line item would you put in there that specifically says, hey, we're not using any other local money of local expenditures? So basically, if we don't get the grant, we're not funding this, but you can't take any of our other
It doesn't talk
funds.
about any other monies than grants,
And-
right?
right.
It says it states federal and state public safety grants,
I understand.
right? So, I
Right.
mean, they're the ones that have already outlined it in my mind.
And my concern, and I hear you, and you don't have to write anything there, is when people run out of money, they're gonna ask you where it's coming from. And I wanna protect you as saying, hey, we recognize that you would be out of money, so essentially you would have to figure out where it's coming from.
That's right.
So we're in agreement to that.
Okay.
So I got one
Definitely
more.
need to let
So-
Darrington look at that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
put, if they won't put something similar to what Terry was just saying, that there is no other money.
I got,
Because I agree with him. If you don't get the
There
grant,
is
you don't
no
get any
other
money.
monies. I
That's
mean-
right.
Yep.
I got one more question,
So-
that, under the compensation piece, y'all remember this was a joint meeting 5 years ago or so. The county's portion is not gonna be designated to us. That pays the SROs, correct? We didn't want the county's
Coming
money
through our budget.
coming through
No,
our budget.
we
So
removed that.
That's right, okay.
We
The
removed
reason
that.
we do that is if it comes in our budget,
We had to claim it.
we gotta claim it, and then how much the percentage of it goes
It
to,
rolls to other.
goes to other, like the Montessori and everybody else.
Depending on
So
the
there's,
legislature.
there was a handling fee that we were dealing out, we were going in the hole for bringing in money and then just writing it back out to the Beaufort County employee.
We didn't get to keep it.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I mean, we're not done with this thing yet.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
I
this is
wanna
the
find
beginning.
out where there's penalties in this. I haven't read it all
Yeah,
yet.
go ahead, Don.
I've got two questions. This 4 compensation, was that on the other agreement?
Yes, if you look at,
That was, it's the same thing?
no.
No,
It's not, okay.
So if you go to, on your board docs, I just had it up. So it's gonna be, third page, program funding and cost. And it's got some language in there of how it was done previously before we got terminated.
Yeah, there it does
So-
not designate it as a safety grant.
No.
That's why I'm
Okay,
bringing this.
so Dr. Cheeseman is saying that we need to have a line item there in place
I'm
to
suggesting
protect
it.
us.
Yeah,
I'm
to
suggesting
protect
it.
that.
I think
Suggesting
you
it,
decide.
I think you make it very clear, no other money.
Yeah. no
Okay.
money.
And to,
Right.
That's right.
yeah, to add
Just
to
say
what
it.
was said
Just
about,
say it.
Tammy, out of every dollar, what percentage of that goes to charter and other schools?
None now.
So it varies from month to month, because it depends on how many students that live in our school district that are attending various other charter schools.
So
But there's
it's a fluid number.
I couldn't tell you that percentage right off the top of my head without looking, but I'm happy to send you an email with that. But I can tell you that we send out $125,000-$130,000 a year easy. And it's more than that, but that's an easy number to tell you. It's probably closer to 200,000, to be completely honest, that we send out to charter schools and other virtual schools that we have students attending.
And we were in the old meeting room.
Yep,
When
not
we
that.
informed Anita of that. They really did not know. So in defense of the county commissioners,
Yes.
maybe they should have known, but I'm saying they had no idea that the monies that were coming to us, we were still having to send part of it out. And that's when we changed it, correct?
That's
Yes.
correct. That is correct.
So it goes straight to them.
Spring of 2019.
Yeah.
All right, so if you move down to Roman numeral 8, and I'm bringing this to your attention as a point that both Mr. Williams and Mr. Draper have hit home on every time. Your goal is to make sure that our facilities and employees are covered with safety through law enforcement, not just when students are present, but when any employees are present. So if you look at line item A and circle the last word, it's only students. And so it's read as SROs will provide law enforcement services during the entire school day as set forth by the Beaufort County Schools, and on each day school is in session for students. So I have circled that to bring your attention to it, to make sure that it should be students and staff, any personnel on any day that the district is open.
Yes.
Yes,
District is open.
yes.
Which means the only time the district is closed is essentially on a holiday, a weekend, or a weather day where the superintendent declares the district closed, meaning the employees don't come at all. All right, so I would
Right.
say anytime the district is open, and of course, I'll work with your attorney to establish this language.
Okay.
But I just wanted to bring it to your attention that I was very concerned when reading this, because what you've been asking the sheriff to do is not documented in that regard.
I already had my note down.
All right, so we're-
Can I mention something else under the A?
Yes,
Where it says, and I want something added to the first part, where it says the entire school day. Now, it does say, as set forth by Beaufort County Schools.
Yeah.
But I think we need to designate it in here what that is.
Time.
Because school is not when the bell rings and the bell rings.
No.
But
It's
remember, we
pickup.
talked about this, at least 45 before the bell rings, 45 after, because that covers all the pickups, drop-offs.
That's
Covers
true.
everybody.
Right, it
That's
covers
true.
everybody,
That's
not
what
just.
we all agreed on.
Don't wanna be seeing sheriffs coming up and down the road when school is dropping off kids, and they're not there yet.
I got it.
Yep.
If you turn to the next page, letter C, and this was a concern that you had in 2018 or 2017, which ultimately led to the sheriff at the time shutting down the MOU. Letter C, it's understood and agreed that time spent by SROs attending juvenile court hearings and/or criminal cases arising from and/or out of their employment as an SRO shall be considered as hours worked under this agreement. So in short, your concern years ago was that the sheriff at the time, not Sheriff Hammonds, but the sheriff at the time would pull people out of your buildings for prisoner transport and/or any other thing, and not substitute an employee back into that to ensure the school is covered. And I'm asking you to make sure that there's language there so our principals know that if Don is pulled out for a court hearing as an SRO, that Ms. Booth is covering that school.
Exactly.
All right, that you're gonna substitute another officer there, and so I would ask that you consider language there.
Yes.
And in letter D, And this is the concern I have around what was happening over the last few months. Second sentence, the sheriff will make a good faith effort to assign a substitute SRO or deputy to the school if the regularly assigned SRO is absent. Well, good faith effort, what does that mean?
It means scratch it off the side of the sentence. is
It
what
should
means.
say,
Right.
shall assign a substitute.
Right, so
Shall. Shall.
we're on the
That
same.
good faith should say
Right.
shall.
I got a better idea, right? Read A,
Yes, sir.
get the wording correctly for A, and then C and D can go away.
I
Right?
got you.
There's no excuses, right? If there's going to be an excuse, then there's going to be a penalty.
I got you.
Guys, we need an SRO at every school while somebody is in that building.
We don't need to be
No
right.
exceptions.
We don't need to be
Right,
right.
and I'm not going, I mean, I knew that this double talk was gonna happen on this MOU. I knew this going into it. That's why I did not agree to this back in December. So we gotta get this language right
Oh, yeah.
and tight and make it hurt if they don't follow through. I'm sorry, we've gotten burned from the sheriff's office too many times on this stuff, and we cannot, as a board, tolerate this. Or let's just stay with Allied. We had somebody in the building every time. Yeah, maybe they didn't have a gun on their hip, but we had somebody there, right? We're talking about lives here. Precious lives.
I agree with you, sir.
TW, I agreed with what you said when you said shall.
Shall.
Use that terminology, that means you will.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you look at Roman numeral 9, letter D should be letter C. It's just a typographical.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look at Roman numeral 10 on the same page that we've been working on, and here's the question for you to consider. Operating procedures. Letter A, number 1. Be a commissioned law enforcement officer and should have 1 calendar year of law enforcement experience. Your previous MOU, you required 2. Why that catches my attention is you're asking for 12, but number 2 is what catches my attention along with 1. 2, the sheriff suggests that you possess an SRO certification with 12 months of assignment as an SRO, or within 12 months. So essentially what that means is, with number 1 and number 2 combined, you could have an SRO that has 1 year experience and has yet to be certified as an SRO. Now, I'm not making judgment, but what I'm saying to you is, in my mind, that's like having a student teacher asking them to perform on an EOC. And that's not fair to your principals, and that's not fair, that's not appropriate for our employees. All right, if you deem otherwise, I work for you. But in short, I strongly ask you to look at that.
Well, if he's not certified, he can't carry a weapon.
Well, he can carry a weapon, but he's not.
He's not certified as having been trained as a school resource officer, which may include or may not include de-escalation tactics of working with young people. All right, may not have had that
Yeah,
training.
he can carry a weapon, but he can't carry, oh, not a weapon. He can carry a
He's a
gun.
certified law enforcement officer.
He's a
not
certified law
certified
enforcement officer,
SRO.
carry a gun, but he can't do the de-escalation of student behavior.
Well, I mean, if that's needed,
In my
we
opinion,
need
it's-
that.
That's
right?
what I'm suggesting,
Yes.
is that you look at,
Okay.
that you would recommend in this idea that line item 1 goes back to 2 years. And in fact, that they would have to be certified before they ever enter.
But he does possess number 5.
I don't have a comment.
I didn't even want to read it. I didn't.
I don't
even
have a comment.
Elaborate, please.
If you read it, you know what I'm talking about.
I support you, sir. All right, so, let's see, if you move forward several pages, and I'm sorry this is not page numbered from the sheriff, but if you go to letter G, investigation, interrogations, and arrest procedures. and this is probably where I'll stop for the night. Investigation, interrogation, and arrest procedures. Do you all have that?
Yep.
All right. Your initial MOU years ago had 7 line items. The proposal has 5. 2 of those line items have been removed. The 2 items that were removed that you desired in the past, and you should go back and look at your previous one. The first one stated that the sheriff's office agrees to provide the Beaufort County Board of Education and each school serviced by an assigned SRO a copy of its standard operating procedures relevant to an investigation, interrogation, and arrest of students and employees. That may matter to you, it may not, but the sheriff has removed it. The second one that was removed was number 3, that the Beaufort County Board of Education agrees to provide to the sheriff office and each assigned SRO and designated supervisor with a copy of its procedures regarding the investigation, interrogation, and discipline of students and discipline of employees for acts of misconduct in violation of school board policy and state law. So in short, you're asking for each other to share your SOPs. Well, the sheriff has removed that completely. Not sure if that matters to you, and you can think about it. You don't have to make that decision tonight, but I wanted to bring it to your attention that, in fact, it just disappeared. All other things under letter H are present in some way, shape, or form. And one last thing.
I would ask if they chose to, why they chose to remove it, or was it just in error?
Great question, and that is something that's on my radar to ask. If, in the document you're looking at, if you turn to the second to the last, or turn to Roman numeral 11, access to education records. It's 3rd page from the end, I think. All right, access to education records. All right, so just as a general overview, this entire section, I'm going to request that your board attorney looks at in order to make sure that you're within general statute, within your board policies, and whether this is most appropriate. And the reason I say that is a large majority of what was in your previous agreement under confidentiality and student records has disappeared.
Yeah, I'm comparing the 2. They don't even,
They don't match
they're not
up at
even
all.
at
Yeah,
all.
it's
They're not, it's
disappeared.
like, it's 2 complete different
And so-
documents.
And in short, I want to make sure that our principals know exactly what they're allowed to share and exactly what they're not allowed to share by law, not necessarily by desire of the SRO in the building. I want to keep our principals safe in that
concerns
regard.
Yeah, let's keep
Yeah,
them safe.
I'll be amazed if those pass the smell test.
Right.
They won't know.
So in short, that's the overview that I've done for you. Wanted to bring lots of that to your attention. You are welcome to come to my office on Thursday if you'd like to be a part of the initial conversation, but I would like to bring a better draft back to you on March 19th.
Yeah.
That would be representative of that. And after you look at that, then you can give me the green light to share it with your board attorney based on language that you feel most comfortable. I do expect this to go back and forth several times with respect, and we do have a good working relationship in this dialogue. So I'm not certain if some of the pieces disappeared because they just missed it or accidentally hit delete, because sometimes it happens, or if there was a reason that's not been shared with me thus far. Any questions about the MOU in terms of where we stand right now?
So what is happening Thursday?
Thursday, at my office, you have Sheriff Hammond and Chief Deputy coming to meet with me to sit down and walk line by line on this MOU to make adjustments to the entire document, to have a collective understanding of what we would present back to the board, whether the board would like to agree with that or not on Tuesday, and then you can make change if you don't agree with it.
What time is that meeting?
I think it's 1 o'clock, but if that were different, I would send that to you.
And what are what is Thursday like for our, don't we still have capital tours?
We do,
You
all
do.
morning.
You should be done in the morning.
That's Bath,
Bath, north side,
northeast and north
northeast.
side. Yeah.
What
It is. And
Just
if
just
it
remember, we
changes, I'll
can't-
let you know.
We can't, if any of you go,
I want to go.
we can't have over,
I'm game.
Can't have more than 4. If you
we
have
can't
five,
have over
Yeah.
4.
Are you going, Terry?
Don't lose on me.
Do you think you'll go,
Got your back.
Don't hurt me, man.
do you think you'll go, Terry? I mean, if you'll go, I'm gonna step away, cause you and
no.
I think you and I got the same thoughts about
Well,
this.
we do.
Well, I mean, I don't wanna get too many because then it becomes a, you know.
No, I know.
It's open meeting.
And it's, yeah.
But you're welcome to go.
No, I'm good. Really, go. If you're planning on going, Terry, please do.
I think,
I can't stress it enough, guys.
I get it.
Some of it just appears to be, in reading through it, quickly, some of it contradicts itself. It's
Yep.
like they say one thing in the first 2 lines, and then they go, but if we don't do that, we're gonna do this.
Right.
And so there's some conflict in there that I think just needs to be cleaned up. It's like you said, did they delete something accidentally? Or if it's on purpose, then it raises concern, why
Well,
did you
let's-
delete something? But some of it really does seem to contradict itself.
Let's see what we got coming out Thursday,
Okay.
next meeting,
Yeah,
and we'll go from
yeah,
there.
we'll know a lot more.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna move to action. 5.1, joint use agreement, youth football league. We got an attachment. There is a strike down to page 4. We got some strikes going on, and we all know why.
I think you do. You are building a new school on top of their practice field. And so in short, you have to make change to the agreement. Mr. Stokes, did you want to comment on
Oh,
it?
sorry. Yeah. Was it Jane?
Essentially, it's got to stop soon because they're already going to be out there surveying.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, we've started to build a school. You're gonna have landscapers out there. And have grade stakes that are gonna be placed out there, and we prefer that those grade stakes tend to stay in place and not be removed when somebody wants to go out there and practice football. I get they used it for practicing a little bit, but, there's gonna be a ramp up in the increase of activity out there at buildings. So just for safety concerns, if nothing else.
Are we talking about the lower part?
Yeah, we're talking about the whole open field. Because that whole area will be, at some point.
Right, but I mean the part that's on the Eastern Elementary campus.
That's correct, yes,
We're
ma'am.
not changing anything about Q.
Just the
No,
eastern
no, no,
campus.
no.
No,
Just
just,
campus.
just the eastern elementary part of it.
Right.
well, surely they'll understand we're building a school.
Does Billy know this?
Yes, actually, there's been a change in leadership up top. We've had a conversation already, and
Okay,
when they saw that the new school was getting built, they pretty expected that they weren't gonna be able to use it no more.
okay,
So-
all right.
All right.
And they're okay with moving down the road.
Yes, actually, I have a meeting with them next Friday with the new president at Kugler, just to talk about some stuff.
Okay.
Okay, what's the insurance one? There's a change on the insurance, it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll take that off the insurance. He's already took that off his insurance too.
Okay, got you.
I got a question.
Go ahead, sir.
On the joint agreement revision, who normally monitors or reviews to ensure the approved changes? Like, for example, specifically in here, it says the board shall be named as an additional insured. Who looks at that to make sure that that's done?
On the additional insurance on the policies.
Yeah, when you check,
They provide their insurance policy.
and so
Just
who
make
reviews that? Just curious.
Typically, our finance team.
To ensure that terminology is in there.
Typically, our finance team.
Okay.
If I get a motion to approve,
So moved. Oh, go ahead.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. We have field trip approval. We got one from Northside, Washington High School. Go ahead.
Yep, Northside High School Science Olympiad State Competition, April 12th through the 13th. 12 male students, 12 female students, 1 male adult, 2 female adults, activity bus. Washington High School Physical Science and Earth Environmental Class Trip to the Core Sound and Waterfowl Museum at Harkers Island, North Carolina, and Cape Lookout National Seashore. 70 students, 5 adults, activity bus and ferry. Southside High School, and notice the ferry, that's why I'm asking you, even though this is not an overnight trip, I'm asking you to look at that because of the ferry ride. Southside High School, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Virginia, May 17th, senior trip, 40 male students, 40 female students, 3 male adult chaperones, 3 female adult chaperones, activity bus.
My only comment to Ferry is they better check the ferry schedules, cause they're changing hourly, not, maybe minutely these days. And they have cut that ferry run down really hard.
Absolutely.
They've cut it down to 2, so.
And the last one is Chocowinity Middle School, Fort Macon, and North Carolina Aquarium, Pine Knoll Shores, April 19th through the 20th. 8th grade students who are eligible, 40 male students, 40 female students, 3 male adult chaperones, 6 female adult chaperones, activity bus.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Personnel.
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143 through 1811A1B or A1, and to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files under General Statute 115C 321.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?